After Xiao Jin brought me back to the residence, he showered me with affection. Everyone said he fell deeply in love with me at first sight and that his love for me was profound. I believed it too. Until I overheard his conversation with the healer, it was like a wake-up call. It turned out that all his affection for me was just to trick me into replacing his deceased beloved, trading one life for another. Later, the woman he had been longing for finally returned as he wished. But he went mad searching the world for experts in the mystical arts, just to bring me back to life, hoping to hear me call him a Jin once more. And all I wished was to never see him again for eternity.
1.
A Jin, is this really a medicine to replenish my health? When Xiao Jin brought me a bowl of soup mixed with talisman water once more, I lowered my eyes to hide the pain and asked casually. Xiao Jin's hands holding the bowl of medicine froze. Then he chuckled. Of course, it's a divine remedy, specially designed to replenish your vital energy after such severe damage. Many of the herbs are very precious, and the medicinal catalyst is extremely hard to come by. I forced a smile, suppressing my turbulent emotions, and slowly met his gaze. But why, after taking the medicine for 6 days, does my condition not improve but rather get worse? Jean, I think we might have been deceived by this so-called divine healer. This medicine is not only hard to swallow, but it also makes me feel extremely uncomfortable every time I take it. If I continue, I'm afraid my body won't be able to handle it. So, Jean. I gently took his hand that was holding the spoon and carefully pleaded. Could I stop taking this medicine for now? Let's find another doctor to prescribe something else for me, okay? But he refused without hesitation. No, the divine healer's reputation is well established. Don't be childish. Just take the medicine quickly. My last bit of hope was shattered. I pressed my lips together and slowly withdrew my hand, putting on a faint smile as I nodded. All right. Noticing my change in mood, Xiao Jin finally softened his attitude. He smiled gently and reassured me. Don't worry, I was just concerned about your health. The healer said this medicine needs to be taken for 21 days to see results. It contains herbs that help repair your body. Feeling weak and sleepy after taking it is normal. You'll recover once you stop. I didn't say anything more and lowered my eyes in silence. Xiao Jin, still smiling, scooped a spoonful of the black medicine and fed it to me, saying, Be good. Just endure for another half-month, and once you're fully recovered, we'll get married. I'll give you a grand wedding. Knowing he was lying, I still naively asked, Will you really marry me? I wanted to ask if the person he intended to marry was really me, but the words changed before they left my mouth. When I saw him looking at me with deep affection and sincerely saying, I will definitely marry you, I couldn't help but blur my vision with tears. In the end, I obediently drank the medicine. Seeing me drink it, Xiao Jin visibly brightened up. He immediately pulled out a pack of candied fruit from his pocket and fed me one. You see, knowing how bitter you find the medicine, I got you your favorite candied fruit.
Try it.
The pain I had been holding back surged again, and I struggled to hold back my tears. Looking at the candied fruit and his hopeful eyes, I forced a smile. Okay. As I bit into the candied fruit, its excessively sweet taste made me cough violently. Xiao Jin hurriedly patted my back, anxious. Yuan, are you okay? Is everything all right? After a while, the discomfort in my throat eased. I shook my head, gently pushing his hand away, and said with a soft laugh, Jin, I'm a bit tired again. I want to lie down for a while. You can go about your business if you have something to do. Once I heard him leave after closing my eyes in bed, I slowly opened my eyes to the direction of the door. The tears finally came, but I smiled. Indeed, all the affection and love were fake. What he wanted from the beginning was only my body, which resembled that of the woman named Qing Yao. As for my life, it was worthless to him.
2.
Before the old woman had an accident, she had predicted that my fate was special, and I would face a great calamity at 18. If I survived this calamity, I would have a happy and fulfilling life afterward. If I didn't, my soul would scatter, with no chance of reincarnation. I thought that since Xiao Jin saved me from the mountain bandits half a year ago, I had already passed that great calamity. Now it seems that Xiao Jin was actually my true calamity. And it was an inescapable death calamity. The old woman's mention of 18 referred to my 18th birthday, not the usual age of 18 by Western standards. Because the soul-switching day set by the healer was exactly on my 18th birthday. That day was truly when I turned 18 in the real sense. Unfortunately, I realized it too late. This morning, I inadvertently overheard the healer telling Xiao Jin that after 7 days of taking this talisman water, my 7 souls would become weak and fragile. After another 6 days, the 6 spirits would also weaken and fade. Today is the 7th day of my medication. I can clearly feel my body deteriorating. I spend most of the day drowsy, and I'm so weak that even getting out of bed is difficult. So, escaping from Xiao Jin's heavily guarded residence seems almost impossible. But I can't accept it. Why should my feelings be toyed with by Xiao Jin? Why should I be treated so cruelly? Miss, you're still awake? The maid Xiao Dao, who attended to me, noticed me crying and laughing with my eyes open and quickly came over, bending down to ask softly. The drowsiness hasn't hit yet. I propped myself up and, with Xiao Tao's help, sat up against the headboard. I pulled her to sit down and said with a gentle smile, Xiao Dao, I want to make a deal with you. 3. The next morning, after Xiao Jin fed me the medicine again, I looked at the clear weather outside and tugged at his sleeve, pleading. Jin, the ghost festival is the day after tomorrow. I suddenly miss the old lady. I want to go back to Shoa City to visit her grave and taste the little crispy pears from our courtyard and the dates from the old jujube tree on the mountain. Xiao Jin's smile instantly faded. He held my hand and coaxed, You're still in the recovery period. The healer said you shouldn't overexert yourself. Let's put off the trip for a while. I knew this was just an excuse. He was only worried that something might go wrong and ruin his plans to revive his beloved. No matter how much I pleaded, Xiao Jin refused to let me go. Of course, this was something I had anticipated. In the end, I had to settle for having Xiao Dao, my attentive maid, take the cakes I made to Shoa City in my place to pay respects to the old lady. I couldn't be sure I would survive this great calamity. So, it was also a way to bid farewell to the old lady. Since Xiao Jin refused to let me go personally, he couldn't refuse Xiao Dao going for me. However, the next day, he cautiously sent 2 people to accompany Xiao Dao. Soon after Xiao Dao left, Xiao Jin arrived with the medicine. Seeing me obediently drink it, he smiled with satisfaction and picked up a candied fruit from the table to feed me. That's better. Here, have another piece of your favorite candied fruit as a reward. I didn't refuse and force myself to accept the cloying treat, just like I was forcing myself to remove him from my heart. 4. Since I started taking the medicine, my appetite has been decreasing day by day. But Xiao Jin seemed worried that I might weaken from hunger, so every day he would coax me into eating the amount of food he required, just like he did with the medicine. This morning was no different. He waited until I finished the last bite of breakfast before showing a satisfied smile. Then, as if completing a task, he called the maid to attend to me and prepared to leave. Jin, I said, reaching out to pull his sleeve, stay with me a bit longer and talk with me. Xiao Jin frowned slightly, his face clearly showing displeasure. I knew he was going to refuse, so I smiled and softly added, It won't take too long. Xiao Jin stared at me deeply and, after a moment, relented. Yuan, what do you want to talk about? He sat down and resumed his gentle, affectionate demeanor. I smiled and poured a cup of tea for him. This is a new tea blend I just made a few days ago. With the dry weather lately, and considering how easily you get heaty, this tea is perfect for clearing the lungs and soothing the throat. Xiao Jin raised his eyebrows slightly, took a sip, and nodded in approval. It's sweet and refreshing. It's very good. I kept smiling. I'm glad you like it. I'll have them bring some to the front courtyard, so you can have it whenever you return. Xiao Jin gently patted the back of my hand. You're thoughtful, Yuan. I nodded lightly, sighed, and let my smile fade. Actually, I learned to make tea before I was 8, while living beyond the Great Wall. Xiao Jin set down his cup and turned to look at me. Beyond the Great Wall? You've been there? Yes. I nodded and gazed out the window into the distance. Before I turned 8, I lived beyond the Great Wall. People there said I was a disaster, so they tied me to a bamboo raft and threw me into a rushing river. I calmly finished speaking and turned my gaze back to Xiao Jin. Jin, do you think I'm a disaster? Xiao Jin met my eyes, his brow furrowed again, his expression filled with complex emotions. Before he could speak, I smiled faintly and answered myself. Of course not, right? I guess in your heart, I must be a savior. I tilted my head, staring directly into his eyes. I, Qin Yuan, am the great savior for the Qing Yao girl in your heart. Because you want to use my body to help that Qing Yao girl be reborn, right?
5.
Xiao Jin's expression changed instantly. He stood up, grabbed my wrist, and asked with wide eyes, "Who told you this?" My wrist hurt from his grip, and I couldn't help but frown slightly, but I kept my tone calm. I overheard your conversation with the healer that day. Xiao Jin's breathing grew heavy. So, you already knew that the medicine? Yes, I nodded calmly. I know that if I continue taking the medicine for another 13 days, my soul will scatter, and I'll shed this body intact. Xiao Jin's breathing grew more labored. His brows were tightly knit as he stared at me, then he suddenly sneered. Since you already know, that's fine. It saves me from having to endure the disgust of pretending to be polite with you every day. He shoved me away. As if to prove his disdain, he took out a handkerchief and began to wipe his palm, which had just touched me. He spoke coldly. Qin Yuan, I advise you not to entertain any thoughts of escape. As long as you cooperate and help Qing Yao come back to life, I might show some mercy and send someone to burn incense for you and the old lady every Qingming festival. But if you try to play tricks and delay Qing Yao's revival, I guarantee your old lady will never find peace. My numb heart was pierced by his ruthless words. I forced myself to hold back the tears and looked down with a self-deprecating smile. Since the day I entered the residence, the general has had people watching me at all times. Since I started taking the medicine, you've secretly increased the guards around me. Do you really think a weak woman like me could ever escape from the walls of your general's residence? Xiao Jin stared at me in silence, as if trying to see through my thoughts. I couldn't help but smile bitterly, pushing myself up from the table. Don't worry, General. For the sake of the old lady, I won't run away. Since you want me to exchange one life for your beloved, then that's what I'll do. After all, I'm tired of this heartless and ruthless world. Disappearing into the void doesn't sound so bad. 6. Xiao Dao returned at noon the next day. Because of my confrontation with Xiao Jin, I had Xiao Dao and the 2 guards who accompanied her thoroughly interrogated before Xiao Jin allowed her to come back to me. When Xiao Dao returned, I felt a sigh of relief. In the following days, Xiao Jin became even more watchful. He continued to personally bring the medicine and watch me take it, but the gentleness he once had was gone. I didn't mind and continued to cooperate every day. Every night, I forced myself to stay awake for a while, standing under the high wall of the courtyard with my eyes closed, quietly listening to the birds outside. I would stand like that for half an hour. Sometimes, when I was in a good mood, I would hum a few tunes from my hometown, interacting with the birds. One day, however, I lost track of time and almost fainted. In the darkness, Xiao Jin suddenly appeared like a ghost, catching me securely in his arms before I fell. In my dazed state, I seemed to see the gentle Xiao Jin who used to dote on me deeply. Unable to hold back, I called out softly with tears in my eyes, "Jin." Xiao Jin's body tensed noticeably for a moment. He quickly averted his gaze, carried me horizontally, and hurriedly brought me back to the room, intending to leave without a word. "General, wait." I propped myself up and called out to him, smiling as I said, "As a thank you for your timely help, how about I give you a gift?" Xiao Jin didn't look back and coldly refused. "No need." I smiled confidently. "It's something related to Qing Yao. I'm sure you'll be interested." At the mention of Qing Yao, Xiao Jin abruptly turned around, his forehead veins bulging. "Qin Yuan, I've warned you not to play tricks with me." I slowly lay back on the bed, sighing helplessly. I just wanted you to get to know your future father-in-law in advance. Why be so nervous? Xiao Jin took a few steps back to the bedside and grabbed my wrist tightly. Qin Yuan, if you still dare to say you're not scheming, Qing Yao is clearly an orphan. Where would her father-in-law come from? The man's strength was indeed great, and my wrist was hurt from the grip. I frowned and turned my arm, gently reminding him, General, this body will soon belong to your beloved. I suggest you be a bit gentler. Seeing the red marks on my wrist, Xiao Jin immediately released his grip. I touched my wrist and smiled bitterly, reflecting the difference between love and indifference. General, Qing Yao must not have told you. She is actually the youngest daughter of the current Prime Minister, Zhang. If you don't believe me, you can verify it. Xiao Jin clearly still didn't believe me. He left with a stern warning. Miss, how did you know Qing Yao is the Prime Minister's daughter? Xiao Tao was curious. There were some things I didn't want outsiders to know, so I only vaguely said, I'll tell you about it later. Xiao Tao wisely didn't press further. However, she still helplessly said, but it seems that General Xiao doesn't believe what you said. I was physically exhausted, but before falling asleep, I still smiled softly and told her, it's okay. He will naturally verify it. I just hoped he would act quickly. Otherwise, I might not get to see the good show before I die. 7. As expected, Xiao Jin made a furious appearance on the third day. At that time, I had just been forced to take the medicine by the steward when he arrived, his forehead veins bulging, and he grabbed my neck. Qin Yuan, what exactly do you want? I warned you not to play tricks. Why do you keep testing my limits? I was already weak and had no strength to resist his actions. Xiao Dao was frightened and hurried over to try to persuade him, but was brushed aside by the man. I was nearly out of breath from his grip. Whether from sadness or discomfort, tears uncontrollably filled my eyes. Yet my mouth still had a smile. Xiao Jin, your beloved, has someone else. That's the truth. Even with all the resources in the world, it's impossible to bribe all the servants in the Prime Minister's household in a short time. This simple truth is something anyone can understand. Yet, Xiao Jin would rather believe this was my scheme than accept that his beloved loves someone else. What I said clearly provoked him, and he increased his grip. Eventually, I could no longer bear it, and I lost consciousness in his hands. He had forgotten my earlier advice. I wonder if he will regret his impulsive actions when he sees the bruises on his beloved's neck. 8. Perhaps it was a result of the days of forced routine, but I slowly regained consciousness right at the hour of the dog. To my surprise, when I opened my eyes, I saw Xiao Jin's cold and unyielding face, devoid of the gentleness it once had. How unfortunate. I let out a weak laugh through my nose and closed my eyes again. General, are you staying here to prevent me from dying now and affecting the resurrection of your beloved? Xiao Jin didn't speak, but his aura was chillingly cold. I sighed deeply, opened my eyes again, and looked at him. Don't worry. Since I promised to cooperate, I will certainly do so. I will obediently give up this worthless life and will try to make it last until my birthday. Xiao Jin's thin lips were pressed into a straight line, his brows furrowed, and he gazed at me with deep, dark eyes, still silent. I curved my lips into a gentle smile. I still prefer the gentle, smiling Xiao Jin of the past. Considering I once had feelings for you, and am now giving my life in exchange for your beloved, can you please not keep that cold face in front of me for the remaining days? But Xiao Jin turned his face away and pressed his lips tightly together, coldly saying, I've told you before, it was all just an act. You don't deserve my gentleness. I didn't press further, smiling and nodding. All right, it was my mistake to overestimate myself. I propped myself up and got out of bed. Xiao Jin instinctively turned around and raised his hand, but then withdrew it. Seeing me get up, he immediately stood up and walked toward the door. As I lifted the covers and got out of bed, I called out to him in a calm voice. General Xiao, I have a second gift to give you. Without waiting for his reaction, I continued. The top floor of the Wangyue Tower. I guarantee this surprise will be even bigger than the last one. This time, Xiao Jin didn't give a furious warning like last time. He paused briefly and then walked away with determined steps. I wonder if General Xiao will remain as calm after seeing the secret in the attic. In the following days, Xiao Jin didn't appear again. But Xiao Dao kept inquiring about the outside news. It was said that Xiao Jin had nearly set the attic at Wanghua Tower on fire and had beaten up the owner and staff there. Later, he went to the residence of the Wanghua Tower's owner, Hu Jifu, overnight. He not only nearly killed Hu's son, Hu Zhong, but also caused significant damage. This caused a big uproar, and the Hu family reported it to the authorities, which even alarmed the current emperor. In the end, Xiao Jin not only had to compensate the Hu family, but also was punished by the emperor with a 6-month salary deduction and house arrest for half a month. It was also said that after being placed under house arrest, Xiao Jin locked himself in his room and got drunk every day, seemingly drinking himself into a poor state. He even vomited a large amount and fainted on the spot. Hearing this, I couldn't quite describe the feeling inside. It was both satisfying and somewhat joyful, but there was still a hint of sourness. As my birthday approached, the time I could stand under the courtyard at night grew shorter. But I could still hear the birds chirping every day, and the gloom in my heart was gradually dispelled. 3 days before my birthday, I stopped listening to the birds. That night, I had Xiao Dao take out all my personal belongings and began to burn them bit by bit. Since I was leaving, I wanted to leave everything clean. 2 days before my birthday, I pawned all the jewelry I could spare. The money I got was all left for Xiao Dao, part of it for her to offer incense at my grandmother's grave during festivals and holidays, and the rest for her to use as travel money to return home. One day before my birthday, I wrote a letter to Xiao Jin and had Xiao Dao give it to him at the appropriate time. With everything arranged, I lay back on the bed, closed my eyes, and quietly awaited the arrival of the final day.
9.
On the morning of my birthday, I finally saw Xiao Jin again. Compared to before, he looked much more haggard, with dark circles under his eyes and having lost weight. He also carried a strong smell of alcohol. It seemed these days hadn't been kind to him, but this was just the beginning. The real surprise was yet to come. I guessed that he would definitely break down, but I might not be able to witness it firsthand. But that's all right. Hearing about it later will be just as good. You're here. I smiled weakly at him and propped myself up slowly. This time, the man immediately reached out his hand, carefully helping me to sit up. Thank you. I nodded slightly, looked around the room, and found Xiao Dao was not present. It should have been arranged by Xiao Jin, who likely wanted to speak with me alone. I didn't ask further, glancing at the medicine bowl placed far away on the round table, and softly said, "Please bring me the medicinal water." For some reason, Xiao Jin's eyes suddenly reddened. He stared at me, his throat moving as he asked in a choked voice, "How did you know those things?" I thought he was moved by my willingness to sacrifice myself for a greater cause, but it turned out he was still angry because I had exposed Qing Yao's secrets. After all, she was his beloved, and he was still trying to defend her. I smiled bitterly and asked in return, "Does it still matter?" Xiao Jin turned back around, his eyes bloodshot as he stared intensely at mine. "It matters. As long as you tell me the truth today, I can let you go without drinking this medicine." I was surprised by his statement, but if I took it seriously, I would truly be a fool. I smiled and shook my head, lifting the blanket and walking past Xiao Jin, barefoot towards the round table. Xiao Jin stood up and followed, calling out from behind, "Chen Yuan, what are you doing? Didn't you hear me?" I struggled to sit down at the table and turned back to give Xiao Jin a pale smile. "Xiao Jin, I won't wash up or dress today. You shouldn't mind, right?" Xiao Jin stood a step away from me, his brows furrowing deeply. His throat moved as he repeated, "I said, as long as you tell me the truth, you don't have to die." I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Xiao Jin's chest heaved, and he took a step closer, clenching his teeth and demanding, "What are you laughing at?" I stopped laughing, looked deeply at Xiao Jin, and then turned to pick up the bowl of medicine. Liars. If I told the truth, he would likely still not believe me and would want to verify with Qing Yao. If I lied, he would be even more determined in his beliefs. So I knew no matter what I said, I couldn't avoid this fate. I drank the last bowl of medicine without hesitation. Xiao Jin was immediately shocked and stretched out his hand to grab the bowl from me. Don't. Unfortunately, he was still a step too late. The bowl crashed to the ground, and my vision blurred. I used the last of my strength to look at the man who stood frozen with red eyes, then turned to look at the two red outfits on the dressing table. Xiao Jin, those two wedding outfits over there were originally prepared for us. Now, consider them my final gift to you. I hope you can still end up with Zhang Qingyao as you wish. Xiao Jin seemed to stagger slightly. He slowly walked in front of me, his hand raised halfway and frozen in midair, choking on his words as he asked, "Why are you so foolish?" I reached out and tightly grasped his sleeve, lifting my head with tears in my eyes and a faint smile. "Xiao Jin, candied fruit really tastes terrible. Your taste is so bad. I really regret. I truly regretted falling in love with him, falling for such a great liar."
10.
The shaman said the soul exchange was very successful. Qing Yao, who had returned to Chen Yuan's body, would awaken by nightfall at the latest. The person he had longed for had finally returned, but Xiao Jin was not as excited as he had imagined. After arranging for Qing Yao to be settled in her previous residence, Xiao Jin returned to Chen Yuan's room and sat blankly on her bed. Throughout the morning, he had no excitement in his mind about reuniting with Qing Yao. All he could think of was Chen Yuan's serene and resolute gaze before her death. For some reason, when Chen Yuan resolutely drank that bowl of medicine, Xiao Jin felt panicked. At that moment, it was as if something incredibly important slipped through his fingers. His heart felt emptier than ever. "General." Xiao Tao's voice suddenly sounded beside him. Xiao Jin did not react, still staring blankly at the pillow where Qin Yuan had lain. Xiao Tao performed a slight bow and coldly said, "Miss instructed me to tell you to go to Qingshang Pavilion outside the city. This is her fourth gift to you." Xiao Jin finally reacted, turning to look at Xiao Tao with eyes red from emotion. "What is this heart-wrenching gift this time?" Xiao Tao's expression was flat, looking at him as if he were a despicable fool. With a hint of impatience, she replied, "You'll find out when you go." "Oh, and you're still under house arrest, so it's best if you go secretly and don't get caught." Xiao Tao said this and left, not wanting to look at Xiao Jin any longer. Xiao Jin was overwhelmed with emotions but found himself unable to get angry. In the end, he went to Qingshang Pavilion secretly. To his surprise, in the pavilion, he saw two familiar figures. One was the shaman who had guided him to find Qing Yao's physical body, and the other was Hu Zhong, the eldest son of the Hu family, who had pretended to be friendly while secretly coveting his woman. Xiao Jin had never imagined that these seemingly unrelated people would know each other. Something was off, and it was clear that Qin Yuan had specifically sent him there. So, he hid behind a willow tree a few steps away to listen to their conversation. What he heard was that the meeting between him and the shaman, and his encounter with Qin Yuan, were all part of a joint scheme orchestrated by these two. The main conspirator was Hu Zhong. His only goal was to use his power and influence to trap Qin Yuan and obtain two precious herbs to help the shaman successfully revive Qing Yao using Qin Yuan's body. Xiao Jin could accept that reviving Qing Yao was Hu Zhong's scheme and that Hu Zhong had used him. But when he heard Hu Zhong say that Qing Yao had died protecting him, Xiao Jin felt his beliefs collapse in an instant. Hu Zhong was the only son of the wealthy Hu Jifa, but he didn't like business and preferred poetry and painting. He had his own calligraphy and painting studio, which Qing Yao frequently visited. Over time, Qing Yao even invited him to her residence to paint her portrait. As they became better acquainted, Xiao Jin also got to know Hu Zhong. Hu Zhong had always maintained a proper distance from Qing Yao in front of him and had never shown any inappropriate behavior. So Xiao Jin had never doubted their relationship. But now, not only had he discovered that Qing Yao might have had a deep relationship with Hu Zhong, but he also heard Hu Zhong say that Qing Yao had blocked a knife for him.
How could he accept that?
In a fit of anger, he almost rushed out to demand an explanation. But remembering that he was still under house arrest, he couldn't be seen. In the end, Xiao Jin had to forcefully suppress his anger. On his way back, the scene of Qing Yao blocking the knife for him replayed in his mind. Her call of "Ah Jin" echoed repeatedly in his ears. Ultimately, he persuaded himself to deny Hu Zhong's words. Thinking about how Qing Yao had sacrificed herself for him, Xiao Jin managed to suppress his complex feelings towards Chen Yuan. He told himself that no matter what, since she had saved him from the bandit's knife, her replacement of Qing Yao with her own life was a way of repaying his debt to her. He didn't owe her anything and had no reason to feel guilty. General, Miss Qing Yao has awakened. As soon as he got home, a maid who was watching over Qing Yao rushed to tell Xiao Jin the good news. 11. Upon hearing this, Xiao Jin immediately pushed all other chaotic thoughts aside and rushed to Qing Yao's residence. Yao Yao, you're awake? He entered the room and sat by the bed, naturally reaching out to hold the woman's small hand. However, before he could even touch her fingers, she instinctively withdrew her hand. Xiao Jin's face stiffened, and his brows unconsciously furrowed. Noticing Xiao Jin's reaction, Qing Yao merely smiled faintly and said distantly, Xiao Jin, it's been a long time. They've told me about everything you've done for me. Thank you. Xiao Jin could feel Qing Yao's cold and distant attitude. They no longer seemed like lovers who had been apart for a long time, nor even like friends with some familiarity. This unexpected reaction made Xiao Jin feel very uncomfortable. It also made him involuntarily recall the way her face had smiled so charmingly at him half a month ago. At that time, her eyes had been filled with him, but now, it seemed he could no longer see even a trace of himself in those familiar eyes. Memories of Qing Yao flooded his mind again, and Xiao Jin felt a heavy pressure in his chest. His hands, resting on his legs, tightened into fists, clutching his clothes. Yao Yao, since you've awakened, why don't we choose a good day to settle the marriage? He intended to directly clarify his doubts, but he feared receiving a definitive answer from her. So Xiao Jin chose to test the waters first. He stared intently at Qing Yao, not missing any expression on her face. When she heard his words, she first appeared stunned, then quickly turned her face away, avoiding eye contact with him. She said, Xiao Jin, I don't want to think about marriage right now. These words were like a heavy stone crashing into Xiao Jin's chest. The discomfort in his heart turned into a blockage. It made it hard for him to breathe, and his chest heaved violently. Is it that you don't want to consider marriage with me, or that you don't want to marry me at all? Xiao Jin's expression darkened as he questioned in a deep voice. Seeing Xiao Jin's expression, Qing Yao furrowed her brows slightly and awkwardly changed the subject. Xiao Jin, I'm still adjusting to this body after waking up. Can you please leave for a while and let me rest? Xiao Jin wasn't going to give up easily and pressed on with more questions. Qing Yao, let me ask you again. Are you really an orphan with no parents? Was our meeting really just a coincidence? And what is your relationship with Hu Zhong? Why did you block that knife?
12.
A series of questions were thrown at her, causing Qing Yao's hand resting on the blanket to clench into a fist instinctively. But she calmly frowned and retorted, Xiao Jin, what exactly do you want to say? Don't tell me you've fallen in love with the original owner of this body and now regret letting me come back to life. Xiao Jin, don't forget that you were the one who chose me to be revived. Even if you regret it, you can't blame me. And if you don't trust me, then there's no need to discuss marriage. I don't want our future days to be filled with suspicion. As Qing Yao spoke, she became agitated and started coughing, her face quickly turning red from the effort. Seeing her condition, Xiao Jin's heart softened, and he couldn't bring himself to press her further. However, her attitude after waking up and her deliberate avoidance had planted a thorn in Xiao Jin's heart. In the following days, he visited Qing Yao's room every day to probe her reactions. Without exception, her attitude remained cold, and her responses to his probing questions were either vague or evasive. Each time he left Qing Yao's presence, Xiao Jin felt his determination wane. With each bit of certainty lost, his longing and guilt for Chen Yuan grew uncontrollably. Yet, he was unwilling to believe that he had chosen the wrong person and misplaced his feelings. This ongoing inner conflict tormented Xiao Jin severely. He isolated himself in his room and drank heavily. But this time, even in his drunken state, his dreams were filled with Chun Yuan's image. He saw her waiting for him, joyfully welcoming him home, personally handing him tea, and sweetly calling him Ah Jin. He saw her slender figure busy in the kitchen, making pastries for him. He saw her sitting on a swing, smiling up at him and saying, Ah Jin, you're so good. I really like you. But in the end, all her smiles turned into despairing tears. She told him, Xiao Jin, you're a liar. I hate you. I curse you to never find love again, to live in loneliness, and to suffer all your life. Finally, he watched as her frail body turned into petals of a pear flower and scattered into white sand, vanishing into the darkness. Ah, Yuan, don't. Xiao Jin jolted awake from the dream, only to find his face covered in tears. There was a knock at the door. Xiao Jin staggered up and, upon opening the door, saw Xiao Tao standing outside, looking at him with a mocking expression. A mere maid was so disrespectful, and Xiao Jin was naturally displeased. He frowned and scolded her. Unruly servant, how did your mistress raise you? Xiao Tao, unfazed, retorted with a smile. General, don't you remember? My mistress is already dead. Xiao Jin was taken aback, a surge of pain rising in his chest, making him speechless. Xiao Tao continued, General, don't worry. This is the last time Xiao Tao will appear before you, and the last time I'll deliver a gift from my mistress. She then handed Xiao Jin a note. General, go to the place mentioned in the note written by my mistress. You'll find an unexpected and greater surprise. 13. In his dilemma, Xiao Jin did not immediately leave. Instead, he first went to Qing Yao's residence. He wanted to observe Qing Yao's reaction to the place mentioned in the note. To his surprise, he found that Qing Yao had secretly left while they weren't paying attention. Xiao Jin felt as if his heart was gripped tightly by a large hand. Breathing became difficult. His intuition told him that Qing Yao's departure was related to the place on the note. Without further hesitation, Xiao Jin disregarded his house arrest, went to the backyard, saddled a horse, and rode off towards the city outskirts. In less than half an hour, Xiao Jin arrived at the small courtyard mentioned in the note. To his shock, from a distance he saw a man and a woman tightly embracing each other, passionately kissing as they entered the house. Even if turned to ashes, Xiao Jin would recognize those two people. Rage surged through him, filling his chest and head. He dismounted and charged into the courtyard, kicking down the flimsy wooden door. Inside, the two figures, lying half-dressed on the bed, were stunned to see Xiao Jin burst in. Hu Zong quickly reacted, pulling the blanket over Qin Yao and awkwardly standing up while adjusting his clothes. Brother Xiao.
Ah.
Xiao Jin delivered a powerful kick to Hu Zong's chest, sending him crashing to the ground. Seeing this, Qin Yao, disregarding everything, immediately crouched in front of Hu Zong, helping him up and glaring angrily at Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin, if you're angry, come at me. Ah Jin has already been beaten by you once. What more do you want? Seeing Qin Yao's defense of Hu Zong, Xiao Jin understood everything. It was all true. Everything he had discovered, seen, and heard was indeed true. He had been deceiving himself until now, continually finding excuses and reasons for Qin Yao. It turned out that he was nothing more than a joke. Xiao Jin, a general commanding countless victories on the battlefield, had been played around by a woman and a scholar. What more do I want? Ha ha ha. Xiao Jin laughed maniacally for a moment before suddenly lunging forward. He grabbed Qin Yao by the neck and stamped on Hu Zhong's chest. Hu Zhong, a mere scholar, couldn't withstand the force and spat out a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, Qin Yao's eyes turned red with desperation. She frantically beat on Xiao Jin's hand, crying and shouting, Ah, Xiao Jin, you madman! Let go of Ah Jin. Let him go. If you have a grievance, come at me. Xiao Jin suddenly realized something, turning sharply to face Qin Yao. Gritting his teeth, he asked, What did you just call him? In her frantic state, Qin Yao couldn't hear him clearly and continued to cry out to the man on the floor, who was in pain. Ah Jin, Ah Jin. The name echoed repeatedly in Xiao Jin's ears. He suddenly understood. Hu Zhong's courtesy name was Jing Sheng. It turned out that in the peach blossom forest, the name Qin Yao had called out in her desperation was not Ah Jin, but Ah Jing. The person she had fought to protect was not him, Xiao Jin. Ha ha ha. It turned out even Qin Yao's death was a result of his self-delusion. The scene of Chen Yuan resolutely drinking the soul-dissolving potion suddenly flashed in his mind. It felt as though something had struck him fiercely in the chest, causing him to break out in a cold sweat.
14.
At the same time, an unprecedented hatred surged through Xiao Jin's chest. He stepped harder, pushing Qin Yao down onto the bed. His eyes were bloodshot, veins bulging on his forehead, and he ground his teeth as he trembled with rage, demanding, "Why? Why have you toyed with me like this? If you are so in love, Qin Yao, why did you come and provoke me? Tell me why? Why do this to me?" Xiao Jin's manic appearance was terrifying. Seeing that Hu Zhong was about to be crushed under his foot, Qin Yao had no choice but to cry and reveal the whole truth. It turned out that the chief minister disdained Hu Zhong, the merchant's son, and pressured Qin Yao to marry the prime minister's illegitimate son. To avoid marrying the prime minister's son, Qin Yao had secretly fled the household. She had initially intended to elope with Hu Zhong and escape far away. But Hu Zhong, being the only son, couldn't abandon his parents, fearing that the chief minister might trace the incident back to the Hu family, implicating his parents and clan. After discussing, they came up with a mutually beneficial plan. Qin Yao would find someone to marry her in name only, and then they would force that person to divorce her. This way, as a divorced woman, no high-ranking official's son would pursue her. Later, Hu Zhong would appear with a show of righteous love and propose to Qin Yao. The chief minister, wanting his daughter's happiness, would agree to the marriage. Unfortunately, the unlucky target they chose was Xiao Jin, the top general of the time. So, Qin Yao's supposed distress on the street, being chased by villains, was fake. Her gratitude towards him after being rescued was also false. Her professed love and desire to marry him were all lies. From start to finish, he was nothing but a stepping stone in Qin Yao and Hu Zhong's grand love story, just as Qin Yuan was a sacrificial victim in his and Qin Yao's love story. Perhaps this was retribution. It was heaven's cruel punishment for him harming Qin Yuan. The pain in his heart was not from being deceived or played, but from regretting all he had done to Qin Yuan. A wave of bitter, metallic taste rose in his throat. Xiao Jin clutched his chest and spat out a mouthful of blood. With his bloodied mouth, he tilted his head and laughed ominously at Qin Yao. "Then why don't you want to marry me now?" Terrified, Qin Yao stammered, "Because, during the 2 years I was away, everyone knew that General Xiao, you had a deeply beloved wife, and you sought out renowned doctors and paid for expensive medicines to treat her. It was truly touching. As long as we spread a bit of news that the wife you love is named Qin Yao, it will quickly reach my father. At that time, I'll just say that you fell for another woman while I was ill, and that I chose to leave voluntarily rather than endure humiliation. It will be the same as you marrying me and then divorcing me. And this way, I won't actually have to marry you. I'll still find a way to make you write the divorce letter." "Good, good, good." Xiao Jin's eyes turned blood red, his expression demonic as he looked down at the two like ants, laughing eerily. "You've played me for a fool and killed my Yuan. I will make both of you repay this debt 1,000 times over." 15. Xiao Jin imprisoned the nearly lifeless Hu Zhong in a dungeon and locked Qin Yao in a room. He then spread news about how Hu Zhong had deceived Qin Yao into eloping. He also deliberately leaked the information that Qin Yao's body had fallen off a cliff while protecting Hu Zhong 2 years ago to the chief minister, Zhang. Since Hu Zhong wanted to have it both ways, Xiao Jin intended to ensure he would lose everything in the end. Within 2 days of the news spreading, the chief minister's side quickly took action. The Hu family's entire business empire began to encounter problems overnight. Within a single day, the Hu family was reported for bribery and long-standing tax evasion issues. The once prominent trading family saw all their shops, banks, and restaurants sealed within just 2 days. The entire Hu family was not only raided but also had all its members detained in prison, awaiting the court's judgment. Although Xiao Jin was heavily punished with 80 military lashes for disobedience by leaving the capital, he eagerly went to the dungeon, injured, to share the good news with Hu Zhong. As expected, Hu Zhong went mad. With bloodshot eyes, he desperately tried to break the bars and strangle Xiao Jin, hurling obscene curses. Seeing his reaction, Xiao Jin laughed with satisfaction. Hu Zhong, this is just the beginning. You caused the death of the innocent Qin Yuan for Zhang Qingyao. I still have to settle that score. Hu Zhong realized something and stared at Xiao Jin with horror. What? What else do you want to do? Xiao Jin, Qingyao is someone you like too. You can't hurt her. Do you hear? You can't hurt her. If you do, you'll definitely regret it. Hu Zhong nearly shouted his last words. It was clear he cared deeply for Qingyao. But unfortunately, Xiao Jin, driven by ruthless vengeance, would only turn his hope into despair. Xiao Jin shook his head as if he had heard a joke, patting Hu Zhong's face mockingly. Hu Zhong, what are you dreaming of? Regret? The thing I regret the most in my life is falling for Qingyao, that deceitful, shameless woman. But don't worry, I won't harm her anymore because that's Yuan's body, and I must protect it well. I've thought of a better way to torment her. Hu Zhong could already guess what Xiao Jin was planning. He shook his head frantically, pleading with terror. No, General Xiao. You can't do this to her. She's finally come back to life. You can't cruelly take away her chance to live. What about my Yuan? Xiao Jin suddenly roared, grabbing Hu Zhong by the neck. Does my Yuan deserve to be schemed against and lose her life? Hearing this, Hu Zhong, with a red face, laughed bitterly. He struggled to speak, full of mockery. Doesn't she deserve it? Deserves to be saved by you. Deserves to look like Qingyao. Deserves to fall in love with you. Deserves to. The last words were cut off as Hu Zhong was kicked away, crashing into the wall and spitting out blood. If you dare say again that Yuan deserves it, I'll take your life right now. Hu Zhong, however, did not back down. He clutched his chest, looked up with a sneer, and spoke again. It's not just her who deserves it. You, General Xiao, deserve it even more. Deserve my regret. You knew she loved you, knew she saw you as her salvation, yet you chose to deceive her. You had many opportunities to stop the plan to resurrect Qingyao, to prevent her from drinking that potion. But you chose to exchange her life for hers. It's you who continuously betrayed and hurt her. The outcome you face now is entirely your own fault.
16.
Xiao Jin was further driven into madness by Hu Zhong's words. He had the shaman brought back and forced him to prepare the same ritual potion as before, making Qingyao drink it every day just as he had forced Qin Yuan to do. He personally fed her spoonful after spoonful of Qinyao's favorite dishes. Even though Qin Yuan had felt so unwell at the end, she still had to endure eating so much food every day. Since Qin Yuan could do it, Qingyao must do the same. He wanted her to return Qinyao's body to Qin Yuan in perfect condition. However, the shaman's words hit Xiao Jin like a heavy blow. He said he couldn't resurrect Qin Yuan the same way he had resurrected Qingyao. This was because Qingyao could be revived using Qin Yuan's body because he had calculated that Qin Yuan's fate had a major calamity on her 18th birthday. He had used Qin Yuan's calamity to successfully bring Qingyao back to life. But Qingyao was different from Qin Yuan. She had already died once. Her fate was misaligned, and she had avoided her death tribulation. It was almost impossible to use this body to exchange lives and resurrect Qin Yuan. Moreover, since Qin Yuan had not escaped her calamity, her soul might have already dissipated. Even if Qinyao's fate was intact, it would be impossible to gather Qin Yuan's soul again. Without her soul, how could she be resurrected? Hearing this outcome was like having the last hope snatched away. Xiao Jin collapsed from a lack of breath and fainted. When he awoke, it was already the next day. During his coma, he had dreamed of Qin Yuan. Thinking of the shaman's words, he was overwhelmed with regret and longing when he woke. He threw off the covers and ran to Qinyuan's courtyard. Entering the familiar place again, Xiao Jin felt an uneasy tremor in his hands. He hesitated for a long time before gently pushing open the tightly shut door. A heavy smell of dust greeted him. The empty room no longer had the gentle, smiling presence of Qinyuan, nor could he smell anything related to her. Xiao Jin's heart felt like it had been scraped by a cold wind. A cold, painful emptiness had taken its place. Shaking, he stepped into the room and searched everywhere, trying to find any trace of Qinyuan. But there was nothing. All traces of Qinyuan were gone. Panicked, with red eyes, he turned and shouted outside, "Someone! Xiao Tao, where is Xiao Tao?" However, the person who came was not Xiao Tao but the steward. The steward dared not lift his head and, trembling, told Xiao Jin, "General, Xiao Tao." Xiao Tao left a few days ago with her wages and returned to her hometown. Recalling what Xiao Tao had said a few days ago, Xiao Jin staggered, angrily flinging his sleeves. "Who allowed her to leave? Who gave her permission to go?" The steward replied, "She had a release letter with your private seal. I thought you, General, sent her away because you were afraid she would speak of things she shouldn't." Xiao Jin remembered that his private seal had been missing for a while when Xiao Tao went back to her hometown to pay respects to Chen Yuan's grandmother.
He understood now.
Chen Yuan didn't want even Xiao Tao to stay with him. She had wanted to completely sever his thoughts of her. On the day Chen Yuan drank the final bowl of soul-scattering soup, she said she regretted it. To this day, he had not wanted to consider what she regretted. But now, even if he didn't want to, the answer was clear before him. She regretted loving him and didn't want him to hear anything about her anymore. Xiao Jin closed his eyes, his legs giving way as he collapsed onto the edge of the bed, his heart aching terribly. Never having shed tears before, he couldn't help but have wet eyes now. "By the way, General." The steward suddenly remembered something and quickly took out a letter from his pocket, handing it to Xiao Jin. "This is a letter Xiao Tao was to give you before she left. It's a farewell letter from Miss Qinyuan, to be given to you when you came looking for her." 17. Xiao Jin's eyes brightened at these words, and he hurriedly took the letter and opened it. But the contents of the letter once again pierced his eyes with pain. "Dear Xiaoling, when you read this letter, the person by your side should already be Qing Yao. But I still want to tell you a few heartfelt words. You probably don't know that I am not originally from Shuacheng. I was picked up by my grandmother when I was 8. Before I was 8, I lived outside the Great Wall. My mother died giving birth to me. Therefore, my father never liked me from a young age. He would beat and scold me every day, sometimes not even letting me eat. When I was 3, my elder sister took me to play by the river, and I accidentally fell into the water and drowned. My father's dislike for me grew even more. In the dead of winter, he drove me out of the house several times, not letting me return for a day and a night, almost freezing me to death. From the age of 3, life in that home became increasingly difficult. Many household chores became my sole responsibility, and I could never have enough to eat. But I felt that despite everything, at least I could stay with my father and brothers, and it felt like having a family. However, when I was 8, my elder brother and father both fell ill with severe diseases. That year, there was also a locust plague in the clan. The elders of the clan believed that I was a calamity sent by heaven. So my father personally tied me to a bamboo raft and threw me into the river, letting me drift away to fend for myself. Before the age of 8, I had never felt warmth. It was my grandmother who saved my life and gave me the familial happiness I had never known. But later, my grandmother died trying to save me, and I lost my support once again. Then you appeared, descending like a hero from the sky, rescuing me from despair. You were like the sun after the rain, giving me hope to live. In your affection, I felt the warmth of family anew, and for the first time developed feelings of love. That day, after you returned from a subordinate's wedding, you told me that our wedding would be grander than theirs. You said I would look beautiful in wedding attire. I believed you and, naively, secretly prepared wedding clothes for both of us. I truly took you as my future, as my son. But I never expected that all of this was a lie. The moment I learned the truth, my dreams shattered, and the sun disappeared. I regret falling for you, but I do not regret exchanging my life for Qing Yao's. Xiao Jin, you saved my life, and now I have returned it to you.
So, we're even now.
I wish you health and safety for the rest of your life, and I hope that in this life and the next, we will never meet again. After reading the letter, Xiao Jin curled up in Chen Yuan's room and cried all night like a child. He regretted it deeply. He had not only repeatedly harmed Chen Yuan, but had also driven her to the brink. He was the fool who had caused the woman he loved the most to die. He had lost the silly girl who had loved him wholeheartedly. Now, he truly missed his Chen Yuan, but no matter how he searched the room, he could not find a single thing that belonged to her. 18. The next morning, when a servant brought Xiao Jin his breakfast tea, he took a sip and his pupils dilated. He immediately grabbed the maid's shoulder and asked excitedly, "Where did this come from? Quickly tell me, where did you get this tea?" The maid trembled and shook her head repeatedly, saying, "General, this seems to be left by Miss Chen." The light in Xiao Jin's eyes dimmed instantly. After a moment of stunned silence, he asked again, "How much of this tea is left? Find it all and bring it to me." The maid, frightened, shrank her shoulders and shook her head carefully. "No, there's only this one packet left." The light in Xiao Jin's eyes was completely extinguished. He staggered backward and collapsed back into his chair. He picked up the teacup and, after taking another shallow sip, suddenly smiled and carefully cradled the cup in his arms. The order for Hu's family's disposal was issued. Hu Zhong's parents, being the heads of the family, were sentenced to death in autumn, while the other members of the Hu family were sentenced to exile in Xisha. As a member of the Hu family, Hu Zhong naturally became a wanted fugitive. After hearing this news, Hu Zhong fell into a complete breakdown. Combined with his old injuries that had not been properly treated, it wasn't long before he fell seriously ill, left with only a breath of life. Upon learning about Hu's family and Hu Zhong's situation, Qing Yao almost went mad. She even secretly hid a knife and almost killed Xiao Jin. But unfortunately, due to being forced to drink medicine every day, her 7 souls and 6 spirits had already become very weak. The attempt to kill Xiao Jin not only failed to injure him, but also left her with no freedom of movement. In the remaining days, she was bound to the bed, unable to do anything but lie down for eating, drinking, and relieving herself. She endured humiliation and psychological torment daily. She did not want to die, yet she could only watch her life slip away day by day. As for Xiao Jin, besides forcing Qing Yao to drink medicine daily, he did not give up on searching for extraordinary and skilled individuals. He did not believe that Qing Yao could be resurrected, but believed Chen Yuan could. He even more strongly believed that Chen Yuan's soul had not truly dispersed, because, despite sleeping in Chen Yuan's room every day, he could still dream of her. She would come to him in his dreams, proving that her soul must still be in the mortal realm. He missed her so much that it drove him to madness. He had never held her or kissed her. He had to bring her back to life. He wanted to hear her call him a Jean again. He wanted to give her a grand wedding and have many, many children with her. But unfortunately, in the end, Qing Yao, like Chen Yuan, left quietly in her sleep, yet Chen Yuan could never return. On the day Qing Yao died, Xiao Jin went mad. Hu Zhong also went mad. In the end, Hu Zhong died in prison. Xiao Jin, however, held a grand wedding ceremony with Chen Yuan's corpse. No matter what, he had to make her his general's wife, his only wife. Epilogue 1. Sister, I heard that after the emperor learned that General Xiao had caused a stir in the court by marrying a woman's corpse, he was furious and directly stripped him of his position, Xiao Tao said, sitting in Granny's small courtyard, munching on a crisp pear as she reminisced about Xiao Jin. I smiled lightly and shook my head. Late love is only meant to be self-serving. Xiao Tao pouted. Exactly. Also, I heard that General Xiao went completely mad after being dismissed. He spends his days wearing a big red wedding robe, either crying and laughing while holding the rotting corpse at home or grabbing a woman in green on the street and calling her his wife. I finished the last bite of my pear and took a bite of a date. To me, he's a thing of the past, so no matter what he does, it no longer concerns me. Xiao Tao nodded with a smile. Yes, yes, let's not talk about him. It's unlucky. Now you've changed your identity and will have a happy life of your own in the future. Nothing to do with Xiao Jin or Xiao Yuan. I handed her a date. You speak so well. Here's a sweet date for you. Xiao Tao smiled, her eyes narrowing. Suddenly, she seemed to think of something and blinked as she asked me, Sister, can you tell me how you knew about Qingyao back then? With everything settled, there was no need to hide anything. I looked at Xiao Tao seriously and told her, This is also thanks to you, Xiao Tao. When Xiao Tao returned to pay respects to Granny on my behalf, I had her do two things for me. One was to retrieve the soul reviving wood left by Granny under the ancient jujube tree to help me gather the dissipated souls before entering the formation. The second was to secretly deliver a letter to the village head while asking about Granny's grave. After Xiao Tao brought back the soul reviving wood, I secretly performed a blood rite to claim it and then buried it under the small jujube tree in the courtyard corner. On my birthday, all my souls and spirits left my body, and they were successfully gathered by the soul-reviving wood, giving me a chance to be reborn. After receiving the letter, the village head promptly helped me contact someone. With this person's assistance, I successfully obtained all important information about Qingyao, leading to a series of face-slapping and heart-piercing moments for Xiao Jin. It was also with this person's help that Xiao Tao, carrying my soul-reviving wood, found a master living in seclusion in the mountains and successfully returned to the mortal realm using the body of a recently hanged woman. So, to thank Xiao Tao, I acknowledged her as my sister after my rebirth and vowed to ensure her future well-being. After hearing my story, Xiao Tao blinked with curiosity and asked, Then how did that person relay the information to you? I raised an eyebrow and smiled mysteriously. You'll find out soon. Xiao Tao asked, Huh? Hearing a noise at the door, I nodded and pointed towards it. Look, the answer is here. Epilogue 2. Xiao Tao followed my drew and looked outside the courtyard. When she saw a handsome and tall man walk in, her jaw nearly dropped with awe. Sister, who is this? I stood up with a smile and went to greet the man, introducing him to Xiao Tao. Xiao Tao, this is my older brother Chen Kuei, one of the most skilled members of the intelligence organization. Xiao Tao quickly jumped up and saluted Chen Kuei. Big brother Chen, hello. Chen Kuei also responded with a smile. Little sister Xiao Tao, I've heard about you. Thank you for taking care of my little sister. Xiao Tao quickly waved her hands. You're welcome. After Chen Kuei sat down, Xiao Tao didn't forget her curiosity and asked again. So, how did Big Brother Chen convey the information to sister? I turned to Chen Kuei. Come on, show Xiao Tao your skills in exchanging intelligence. Soon, the courtyard was filled with clear, melodious bird calls. The tones varied in length and speed, sounding like birds singing or speaking. Xiao Tao was stunned and, after a while, said, So, the bird calls outside every night were actually Big Brother Chen? Chen Kuei and I exchanged a smile and began humming a tune. Xiao Tao, being smart, immediately realized and said in shock, So, that's how you communicate? I nodded, confirming her guess. Yes. Chen Kuei had a task and needed to return to Jinyang City. Before leaving, he asked me, What are your plans for the future? I thought for a moment and replied, Granny said that after surviving a great calamity, there will be blessings to follow. I plan to return to Xiao Tao's hometown and start a small business with her, like opening a tea house and selling pastries. After paying respects to Granny the next day, Xiao Tao and I packed up and prepared to set off. But unexpectedly, in a small town outside Hongling Pass, we encountered a man in tattered wedding clothes, wandering crazily. He was on the street, asking passers-by, Have you seen my wife?
Her name is a Yuan.
She's the granddaughter of Granny Chen from Hongling Pass. She's very beautiful and makes pastries with tea. After being impatiently dismissed by a few people, he suddenly ran to a woman in green, opening his arms to hug her. Wife, a yuan, I finally found you. They all said you wouldn't come back. I didn't believe it. I've been looking everywhere for you. A yuan, a Jin has been searching for you so hard. The woman was terrified, and her accompanying man, seeing this, kicked him away. But he was relentless, crying and shouting as he clung to the woman's leg. It seemed he was kicked again, but I no longer had the heart to watch. Xiao Tao, let's go. Xiao Tao sighed, said nothing, and turned to walk in another direction with me. The commotion behind us grew distant, and I did not look back again.